Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am back to film my week 1 check-in for the month of November. Now in this video, I'm not only going to be weekly checking in for the first week, but I'm also going to be setting up my weekly check-in spreads right here, as well as I will be setting and laying down some of these spend stickers in their respective days. So let's go ahead and get started, I think, by setting up that weekly check-in spread, which I like to set up right after my budget spread on these 2 pages and before my sinking funds. So let me actually get close. For my weekly check-in spread, I'm going to be using the beautiful pumpkin washi and my weekly check-in kit from the shop. So let's start with whiting this out. And this process is pretty repetitive, so if you guys are not new to my channel, you guys kind of know what I do. Everything is pretty repetitive, I think, with budgeting, but I really like the fact that I get to switch out the washies for every single month, and that just kind of keeps me a lot more engaged than, let's say, having the same exact font or same colorway and whatnot. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm going to lay down my washi here. I just got back from getting my nails done, so if obviously they're different than how they were in yesterday's video, which was my October budget results, then I think I mentioned it in that video that I was going to get my nails done. So I'm back, and that's how the weekly check-in script is going to look. And now, since I do like to track all of my 6 cash envelopes as well as an unbudgeted category, I typically do have to take up the 2 pages. Okay, so I have all of the weekly check-in laid out, and now I'm going to break up the weeks of the month. So I'm going to do, let me actually take my little key here because I am already done with October. And let me put this in here, which, if you guys are wondering where I got this key from, this is actually a washi card from a Simply Gilded subscription box, and I did just use a coil clip from Erin Condren, and I just have my budget expense different stickers there. So the first week is going to be from the 1st until the 8th. So let's put 1st until the 8th. Then the second week is going to be from the 9th until the 15th, which I typically like to go from Monday through Sunday, so 9th to the 15th, then the 16th until the 22nd, and then thinking that my last week will be from the 23rd until the 30th. So then the 5th week is actually going to be a results section for me, which actually ends up working out. So, okay, that is going to be the weekly check-in. And I'm going to make my lines really quickly, and I will be right back. Alright, so I made my lines. That was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do in a long time because I have nails and the ruler that I have is like so tiny. So yeah, the lines didn't come out perfect, but that's okay. So before I go into weekly checking in, I'm actually going to lay down some of my budget expense stickers, which I thought that I would just come on here and do this on camera with you guys. I do have some of these leftover ones that I used in my budget results video. So I have a couple of the colors here, and the rest I have them in my little Simply Gilded album. So let me actually go through my micro happy notes, which is where I keep all of my cash envelope trackers. So I'm gonna go through every single one. And first I have groceries. So groceries, I spent $42 at Target on the 2nd. And then I did bake some apple pies with my siblings, my mom and Paul, on the 8th. So I'm just gonna put apple pies. And that I did take out of groceries, which was $20. Then for eating out, I went to Havana for brunch on the 1st, and that ended up being $53. And then I did buy some tamales for me and Paul, and those just ended up being $5. So that I did take out of eating out. That was on the 6th. Then I don't think I have anything for other yet, but I did have a household expense also from Target on the 8th, and that was $57. I've actually been purchasing quite a bit of like Christmas decorations and wrapping paper and just a bunch of just stuff, not only for the house but also for my Christmas fund. So you guys will see in a second, once I'm done with the weekly check-in, how much I spend from my actual Christmas sinking fund, because somebody actually gave me the idea that I could use my Christmas sinking fund for any decorations I may want. Although I'm probably not going to get all of my decorations with that, just because I did increase my household cash envelope specifically for that reason, especially because I want to buy a tree for our new apartment. That's honestly like one of the funnest and most exciting things, just buying and having my own Christmas tree. Although, you know, I did have one back at home with my parents. I just think it's very symbolic of having like my own place and having my Christmas tree and stuff like that. So I'm very excited, honestly. There was nothing for gas, but for allowance, which is this pretty fog color, I did spend $8 from Target. Oh, I actually bought myself this really cute Christmas inspired t-shirt, which I'm sure I'm going to use on the first day of Vlogmas, and that ended up being $8. So I took that out of my allowance. And then last but not least, for beauty, I bought some hair dye on the 2nd. And I just honestly stocked up on all of the copper hair dye that I was going to use for the next couple of weeks. So I think I bought like 4 boxes, and that ended up being $43. Now, if you guys would have seen yesterday's video, then you guys know that I did roll over money from, like, I believe eating out and beauty. So this is how they look in my trackers, if you guys were wondering. So I rolled over the $38 from last month, and that brought me up from the 47 that I was to the 85, and then of course like that when I spent for tamales. And then show you guys beauty. So for beauty, it was the same thing. So after I spent for hair dye, I had a 157, but I did roll over the money that I had left over from last month. So at the end of this week, I had 192, which of course, this is a new week where I got my nails done. So you guys will see that in next weekly check-ins video. But now that I have all of my trackers all ready to go, I think, so on the 1st, I did go for brunch, but I want to just check car payment off because I did pay for that on the 1st. Like I mentioned, I went to brunch on the 1st as well. There you go. This is kind of a struggle, guys, but we're doing it. Then I went to Target. I actually went to 2 Targets. I think this would have been right after I went to go visit my mom at the Target by her, because I think they had like the Christmas things prior to us having them at like by our place. So I spent $42. I also spent the $8 this time for the shirt that I bought, which I will leave a link down below if you guys are interested. It's a really fun shirt. I think it says I don't remember what it says right now off the top of my head, but I thought it was a perfect shirt to wear. And then I did purchase some hair dye this day as well. On the 2nd, then nothing on the 3rd or 4th, but on the 5th, did I spend some, or was it just rollover money? No, I think it was just rollover money on the 5th. So then my last expenses were on the 6th and the 8th. So on the 6th, I bought some tamales. And then on the 8th, I went to Target. I might have bought things online at Target, which I know a lot of people have different views on like credit cards and whatnot, but as you guys know, I typically use my red card from Target when I buy things from there and I get 5% off. But not only that, if you are a member of the Target circle and have a red card, you might have gotten like promotions and whatnot. So I know last month I had a promotion that if I spend like more than $75 per trip within like 20 days, then they would give me a $25 like kind of gift card. And so I've gotten that, and this time around I think they're doing something like that but for $20, and I actually really love those kinds of things. I've really been enjoying just purchasing things from Target. And you know, it's funny because I actually do a lot of like my grocery shopping at Target. I just love going to Target so much. So the last thing that I'm going to have here is for the apple pies on the 8th. Alright, so I believe those were all of my expenses. Let me just double check. Yes, so I had 1, 2, 3 no spend days, which I'm gonna wait until the end of this video to lay those down because I just ran out. But now I am ready to weekly check in. So like I mentioned, I like to weekly check in for all of my cash envelopes. So we have groceries. I'm gonna do household. We have eating out, allowance, beauty, gas, and unbudgeted. So those are my 3 categories, and now I'm gonna look through all of my stickers and count everything. So for groceries, I have 2 grocery runs, which let me actually check these off as well. We have Target for $42 and the apple pies for $20. That was $62 spent. I started with $300 for groceries, and after the $62, I have $238 remaining for the month. Then for household, we have one expense of $57. And we started with $200, so that means that I have $143 remaining. Now for eating out, I know I had a couple of expenses. We have one for Havana and one for tamales. So 53 plus 5, that was 58. So $58 spent for eating out. Now for eating out is going to be a little bit different since I did roll over some money, but I'm just going to end up putting the amount that I have left over after the rollover, which is $80. Then for allowance, I spent $8. So $8 for allowance. And I started with 100, so that means that I have 92 remaining. And then for beauty, I spent 43. And I just like to check these off as I go through and as I weekly check in for them. So 43 for beauty. And I started with 200 and then rolled over $35 from last month. So that means that I have 192 remaining. Now for gas, I know I for sure didn't pump anything, so I should still have the $70 here. And I know I don't have any red stickers, which mean unbudgeted items. So 0 here as well. And I'm just gonna draw a dash in the remaining because I don't necessarily budget anything for that category. It's just more of a placeholder, as I always mention. But that is pretty much it for the weekly check-in part of this video. Like I mentioned, I had 3 no spend days, which is pretty good, I want to say, considering that one day was just for bills. But now that I'm done with the weekly check-in part, I'm going to bring you guys along into my sinking funds, which this is the sinking fund spread that I just set up a couple of days ago. So if you guys haven't checked out this video, which also included me stuffing my sinking fund cash envelopes, then you definitely should. But let's go ahead and look at the transaction log. I know once I set up my sinking fund spread, I did have already one, which was my medical for contacts. Then on that same day, later that day, I bought some Christmas decorations for $23.51, so that I put just decorations as a description, but I did take it out of my Christmas sinking fund. Then on the 5th, I bought some like basic t-shirts and whatnot from Target, so I did only end up paying $20. I think they were having a sale on like clothing, so that was great. Then on that same day, I also bought more Christmas decorations. Well, I bought advent calendars and ornaments. The advent calendars and ornaments I actually got for both my brother and Paul, which I'm really excited for you guys to see during Vlogmas. So that ended up being $68.85 altogether. And also from Target, I ended up buying a lamp, and I honestly didn't want to take out that money from my household cash envelope. So I was really glad that I've been having that miscellaneous sinking fund added like 2 or 3 months ago. So I spent $25 for a lamp from Target, and that came out of that miscellaneous sinking fund. And then on the 6th, I spent $10 for the tip at this restaurant that we went to, Buca di Beppo, so that I took out of date night. And last but not least, I spent $10 for a pie pan for the apple pies that we baked on Sunday, and that also came out of my miscellaneous sinking fund. So I'm really glad this time around that I had my miscellaneous sinking fund, because in the past, expenses like, let's say, a lamp or a pie pan would have came out of either my household or even like groceries, I want to say. But things like that are more miscellaneous items that now make sense and should come out of this sinking fund. So those are all the transactions that I had from my sinking funds for this past week. I know it's a lot of them, but I'm honestly really glad that I have myself covered and that I actually started putting money into all these sinking funds prior to, let's say, like the holiday season and whatnot, and I have those savings to spend. So really happy about my sinking funds as always. And last but not least, before we go, I am going to show you guys my variable income spread, which I have had a couple of business expenses, as well as I've paid for shipping. I got charged $34.18 for shipping on the 5th. Of course, as always, was billed $12.99 for PicMonkey, which is where I make all of my thumbnails. On the 3rd, I spent $40.60 from Stick with the Plan Co. I wanted to purchase some of her holiday stickers, as well as I bought some really cute like personalized coasters for me and Paul, and so I'm really excited to haul those whenever they come in the mail. On that same day, I also spent $11.90 from Pretty and Prim. I think this might have been the day that I filmed my plan with me, and I looked to see if she had any Chipotle stickers, and she did, which I ended up buying some. So I bought some fast food stickers from her. And then last but not least, on the 4th, I spent $35.30 from USPS, and I ended up just buying some stamps, which is what I use to send out the Patreon exclusive sticker sheets that I make for my patrons every single month. So those were sort of the business expenses that I had this past week. And with that being said, that is going to be pretty much it for this week 1 check-in video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, as always, don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you guys are not subscribed already, and hopefully I will get to see you guys on tomorrow's video. Bye guys!